Okay, hey everyone. Okay, so even just getting to this table has been a bit overwhelming because of all the art. So today, what I'm going to talk about. Oh, great, looking at the camera. So what I'm trying to do with YouTube now is not really YouTube blah blah channel blah blah blah, but this is more to help myself as an artist and hopefully in the future, because hey future me, I tend to forget. So yeah, and I think it's just an issue that I think a lot of people run into, that even when I was writing down my notes of what to say in this video, I immediately started with the plan and not the problem, which was interesting because that's usually how I approach things. Like, oh, let me start this new thing because it's going to help me with this other thing. I'm trying to find an example, but it's going to require a lot of digging into art. I have it right here. Da-da. So, yeah, Exhibit A, the big artwork. That actually was one of the start of a lot of things. I started with doing this intensely, I don't know if you can see that, intensely detailed texture drawing of something. The artwork itself is quite emotional for me because, yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, it was a photo of my dad just before he passed away, and then I wanted to say, so because I really struggled with the enormous task of that being so huge and so overwhelming, I decided, well, let's ignore that problem and let's start again and again and again and again, and then eventually, look, this one's also not finished. Another one not finished. Eventually you end up with piles and piles and piles of unfinished artworks. And yeah, so that's a lot of the issue I have right now. Even last night I was busy with something on the table. Yeah, last night I looked at it and I thought to myself, wow, that's amazing. I really love this. I woke up this morning and I see problems, I see struggles, I see mistakes, I see technical problems, proportional problems, and immediately I'm unhappy and I don't really have the energy right now to push through and get that done. So how I started to work on this problem was actually by watching a video on journaling by Struthless, I think. It's quite an interesting, he's quite an interesting YouTuber. He just helped me realize that there's people maybe like me as well who struggle with similar things. And then the reason I want to try what my plan is, the plan, which is very shallow at the moment, but it will get more detailed. So something like this. We made some paper, very pretty paper, but again I was like, what do you do with this? This is immediately I was like, I can't really draw on it, I'm not happy with it, it's a problem. And then I was making paper maybe a month ago, and in the middle of the night, I had the paper hanging on the washing line to dry, and in the middle of the night it started to pour with rain. I don't know how I woke up, maybe the rain gods woke me up, but a few of the paper fell onto the floor, and I couldn't pick it up off of the bricks at that time because it was just so wet, so I just left it. And then eventually, a few days after, the sun dried it up and I was able to peel it off into this beautiful, but then putting them on top of each other just created this really pretty, I don't know, texture and piece of art. I thought it was really beautiful. So it gave me hope that, yes, maybe at the time, not really sure what to do with this artwork, and maybe it's not going great right now. So with the journaling, I've been starting on working on some of the limiting beliefs. One thing I found quite interesting with the journaling, I always used to journal on just my own intuition on how you should journal, but looking into different ways that people do it, and it opened my mind a bit, because I always used to take the approach of, this is what happened in my day, it wasn't a great day, la 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 la, and you just write a list of events, which not so great. So yeah, I'm feeling inspired today. Let's see how tomorrow goes and whether this is going to happen. Hopefully it does. Stick with me. So I quite like the inversion concept and just approaching some of the things I have in my head. For example, just writing them on paper helped quite a bit. Let's just take this as an example, this big giant piece of art. And the question I had is, how can I finish this big artwork? And then inverting that question would be, okay, not exactly the same, would be, how would I just leave this and never get it done? Well, that's easy to answer. Just like, don't do it. Ignore the problem. Ignore the emotions that you need to work through. Have regret. Have things holding you back. Every day that you see this sitting there in the pile, feel resentment, feel just really horrible negative feelings that don't really want to feel. But if you ask the question, how can I finish this artwork? Well, that becomes a little bit more obvious now, because if I don't want to finish it, all I have to do is leave it there and never get it done, and just feel stuck and horrible and not great. But if I want to get it done and move on and feel liberated and just generally happy with having a complete, and I don't know, I might not even hang it up. I might just put it somewhere that I know that it's done and it's complete, and it's something I can then move on from and not have to worry about, because right now it's taking up space in my mind. So it's just simple things like just trying to complete it a little bit every day. Focus on just doing the bare minimum, not trying to achieve perfection. That's a lot of the reason I stop as well, because I look at a piece of work that I've done, even though sometimes I've spent hours, I'm just really not happy with it because it's not perfect, and maybe I made a mistake or made the one eye smaller than the other. But sometimes people's eyes are different if you really look. Actually, most people don't have the same size eyes. Anyway, and just trying to reframe my mind to say, yes, I do believe in myself. I can finish this. You know what? It's not going to be my life's greatest work. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I highly doubt this is going to be my life's greatest work. And who knows what's going to be your life's greatest work? And maybe it's this piece of paper that I've done. I don't know. But yeah. And going back to the story of Caravaggio, I just love his life story. And especially the end, and how he had got a pardon from the Pope, was on his way back to Rome after being in exile, hunted, like Israeli hunted man for making such crucial mistakes in his life, like really going against society, fighting everyone, doing the best art he can, really like getting such a rebel. And he finally got pardoned from the Pope, on his way back to Rome to live his life as the greatest artist ever. And yeah, when he was meant to get on the ship, because he had been in fights and brawls, and I can't remember the name of the. But anyway, his face was slashed, and they mistaked him for another prisoner, and he never got to go on the ship, but all his paintings went, and he eventually, shame, he started running down the coastline to try and catch up to the ship at the next port, but it was too late. And eventually, from exerting himself like that, he passed away. And I'm just thinking, one of the greatest painters ever uh, died like that. It's a really tragic story. But we don't have to be like Caravaggio and like really, if someone like just get upset and then try and fight society to prove a point, or just thinking there's a lot of things that happened recently, like just disrupting the entire system because you want to get ahead, or going against the grain of society, really struggling, fighting with everyone, not being happy with yourself, fighting against yourself, trying everything you can, but then like, how are you going to solve this? How are you going to be happy? How are you going to be satisfied with your work? And probably the simple answer is you're not. So yeah, hopefully one day when I watch this video, I'll look back and I'll start laughing at myself. But yes, so maybe I can use it as a meditative technique. In the same way water lilies were painted by Monet after World War II. No, I don't know. I can't remember. I'll have to go read into that. But when I went to Nepal as well, a lot of the art was extremely intricate, extremely ornate, and it was a meditative. It was a meditative practice. It was something done on a daily basis, something to calm the mind, calm the soul, relax, slow down, just whoa, whoa. And I think that's something I'd rather like to achieve than just really pushing myself to the edge and then abandoning projects right at the end. I don't think that's a great strategy. And then maybe a few get done because out of exertion and also exhaustion of my body and my mind, and then 1 out of 100 get complete. And yeah, a funny thing about art is some days you can look at it and really hate it, and in a month's time it's really precious to you, even though it was something you didn't like before. So it's really objective. It really could be the day or the hour that you see something that it really attracts you. So my plan for, I don't really want to give this a timeline. Oh, let's go back to the plan. I want to try and finish a lot of these artworks that are lying around here. And I actually don't know how many I have because I know there's more than 200 incomplete artworks. The thing is, those are the ones that I can see here because I've started counting them. Then I go into the cupboards and the garage and the other cupboards, and it piles up to, I don't know how many there are. Probably thousands. So I would like to try and complete some of them. It's going to be really tough mentally because a lot of those works are emotional, and a lot of them are abandoned because they're tied to a person where I feel guilt or I feel shame and I don't want to complete it, or they're just technically challenging and really large, which is very time consuming. So I'd have to make up a strategy for this, and I don't think many of them are going to be complete very quickly. I will try. That's my plan. Shallow plan. We're gonna have to start digging deeper into like which ones we can achieve first. I did quite like a strategy Streetlist used, the Walmart journaling system, but more specifically the obligations. I'd always created a to-do list and then never categorized them, and then also one thing I really like about his strategy, or maybe that strategy, is the bare minimum. What do I have to do today? Even if it's one thing, that is achievable, get that done, and then anything above that is actually a bonus. So yeah, I'm trying that today. Let's see. So that is the plan coming up. Hopefully I can get it in progress and get the momentum going, and while focusing on many other different things in my life, and yeah, hopefully get art party going again, because damn, these people are really upset that they can't do art. I have a big community here in Pretoria and people love doing art. So yeah, thanks for listening. Cheers. And get back through all the art. Oh my gosh.